Welcome to Black History Matters 2024. This is the fourth installment of an educational series produced by the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum. This year, these short educational videos are meant to provide an introduction to topics important to our understanding of Black American history, but also the larger history of the African diaspora across the Americas and the world. I'm pleased to welcome you to today's episode, Samba and Beyond, Exploring African Influence in Brazil. Modern-day Brazil boasts a diverse demographic landscape, reflecting centuries of migration, colonization, and cultural exchange. With a population exceeding 200 million people today, Brazil is the largest country in South America and the fifth largest in the world. The population is ethnically and culturally diverse, encompassing people of indigenous, European, African, and Asian ancestry. Afro-Brazilians comprise a significant portion of the population, with more than a half of Brazilians identifying as of African descent. Additionally, Brazil is home to one of the largest Japanese populations outside of Japan, as well as a sizable community of Italian, German, Lebanese, and other immigrant groups. This multicultural landscape is reflected in Brazil's vibrant cities, where diverse communities coexist and contribute to the nation's cultural mosaic. Brazil's vibrancy owes much to the profound influence of Africa. The story of African influence in Brazil is deeply intertwined with the painful history of slavery, yet it also reflects the resilience of the Afro-Brazilian community. The history of African influence in Brazil dates back to the early days of Portuguese colonization. In the 16th century, Portugal began importing enslaved Africans to Brazil to work on sugar plantations and in other industries. Over the course of several centuries, millions of Africans were forcibly transported to Brazil. It is believed that of the total 12 million Africans transported from Africa to the Americas, almost half, 5.5 million, arrived in Brazil. It is unsurprising then that the legacy of slavery left an undeniable mark on Brazilian society. In 1888, Brazil became the last country in the Americas to outlaw slavery. Today, Brazil is home to the largest population of African descent outside of Africa itself. Although in many ways this is a story of pain, exploitation, and trauma, I think that story is often the only focus when we talk about the legacy of African diaspora in places like Brazil. This video seeks to focus on some of the cultural legacies brought by Africans, which later syncretized with Brazilian indigenous, Portuguese, and various other traditions found in Brazil today. Even in the modern day, some of the most iconic images we have of Brazil owe themselves to the roots of the African enslaved and those that followed after and maintained their ancestral traditions. Speaking of iconic, one of the most iconic manifestations of African influence in Brazil is Carnaval, the nation's largest and most celebrated festival. Originating from a blend of African, indigenous, and European traditions, Carnaval is an extravaganza of music, dance, and joyous celebration that captures the essence of Brazilian culture. Held annually before Lent, Carnaval is a multi-day celebration marked by elaborate parades, colorful costumes, and electrifying music. Carnaval has evolved into a spectacular showcase of Brazilian identity, with cities like Rio de Janeiro and Salvador hosting some of the largest and most extravagant festivals. Samba schools, comprised of thousands of dancers, musicians, and performers, compete in elaborate parades that captivate millions of spectators worldwide. Beyond its entertainment value, Carnaval holds deep cultural significance, serving as a time for communities to come together and celebrate their heritage. At the heart of Carnaval lies samba, a musical genre that encapsulates the spirit and rhythm of Afro-Brazilian culture. Born from a fusion of African rhythms and Brazilian melodies, samba has become synonymous with Brazil. Samba's influence extends far beyond the confines of Carnaval. It permeates every aspect of Brazilian life, from the streets of Rio de Janeiro to the festivals of São Paulo. Samba schools, which serve as centers of community and cultural expression, play a crucial role in preserving and perpetuating this musical tradition. The art of samba in Brazil bears a profound imprint of African influence, particularly from West African rhythms and dance traditions brought over by enslaved Africans. The beats and instruments used for samba music reflect a fusion of African musical elements. Furthermore, the improvisational style of samba dance draws inspiration from African dance forms, incorporating fluid movements, hip sways, and footwork that pay homage to West African dance traditions. Similarly, African influences can be seen in Brazilian cuisine. Brazilian cuisine, with its bold flavors and diverse ingredients, reflects the fusion of African, indigenous, and European culinary traditions. One prominent example of Afro-Brazilian cuisine is feijoada, a flavorful stew that originated in the culinary traditions of enslaved peoples. Feijoada typically consists of black beans cooked with a variety of pork or beef cuts, such as ribs, sausage, and bacon, along with onions, garlic, and spices. It is often served with rice, colored greens, farofa, which is toasted cassava flour, and orange slices to complement its rich flavors. This dish reflects the resourcefulness of Afro-Brazilian communities who transformed humble ingredients into a national dish that remains a symbol of Brazilian culinary heritage. Religion also plays a significant role in Afro-Brazilian culture, with practices such as candomblé and umbanda blending African spiritual beliefs with Catholicism and indigenous traditions. These syncretic religions serve as a source of spiritual guidance and cultural identity for millions of Brazilians. Despite the enduring legacy of African influence in Brazil, Afro-Brazilians continue to face systemic inequality and discrimination. Economic disparities, limited access to education and healthcare, and police violence are among the many challenges that confront the Afro-Brazilian community. However, among these challenges, Afro-Brazilians continue to fight for social justice and equality, drawing strength from their cultural heritage and collective identity. Movements such as Black Conscious Day, or also known as Black Awareness Day, held on November 20th, and the Quilombo movement seek to empower Afro-Brazilians to reclaim their place in Brazilian society. The Quilombo movement in Brazil is a social and political movement that advocates for the rights and recognitions of Afro-Brazilian communities descended from the escaped slaves known as quilombos. It seeks to address historical injustices, promote land rights, preserve cultural heritage, and combat discrimination faced by quilombola communities in contemporary Brazilian society. Therefore, Afro-Brazilians balance a life in which their African heritage is part of the reasons why they're discriminated in Brazil, but also a reminder that African influences are an integral part of Brazil's cultural identity and national heritage. From samba to the flavors of Brazilian cuisine, Africa's legacy is woven into the very fabric of Brazilian life. As Brazil continues to navigate the complexities of its past and present, the spirit of resilience embodied by the Afro-Brazilian community serves as a beacon of hope for a more inclusive future. Thank you so much for joining us today for this presentation on Samba and Beyond in Brazil. On your screen, you will see a link to a Google form. The link is also available in the video description. This form will take you to a survey where you can leave feedback about your experience with this video. Your feedback helps us plan for future events and secure funding, so we really appreciate it if you can take a few minutes to fill it out. Once again, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again at our next presentation.